Hello everyone and welcome to Momentum channel. My name is Mo, and in this video I'm going to review the total dividend earned that I had in my stock investment portfolio in the past year, in the year 2020, and I'll go over the different amounts and of course compare it to the year before to see how my dividend income has changed over time. But more importantly, perhaps I would also dive into the top 7 dividend paying stocks that I had in my portfolio that brought me the most amount of dividends. I think this video is going to be an interesting one. I hope you watch it until the end and then let me know what you think and whether you have any of these stocks in your portfolio. Let's get into it. All right, as you can see here on the screen, here we have put together a graph that as a bar chart essentially compares the amount of dividend earned for our portfolio by month. You would notice here we have both 2019 and 2020, and so the past 2 years, and the bar chart kind of shows you how the amount has changed. You'd notice here that for the most part, of course, the year 2020, we started to do better, especially towards the beginning half of the year. So for example, for January, we earned 154, roughly $155 in dividend income, and it was almost double the amount that we earned in 2019. Similar pattern you see for March, that the dividend income is a lot more, 148, close to that. And then of course the June was the highlight. In the month of June we got $385 in dividend income, and all these dollars amounts that are listed here of course are Canadian dollars for you to be aware of. And this was of course the month of June was one of the highest months ever. In fact, it was even almost close to double the amount that we earned compared to the June of 2019. And from there onwards, you could see that gradually the 2019 dividend income was higher than the one that we had in 2020. And one of the key reasons in there is that I actually decided to make some changes to my investment portfolio. I actually took out some of the money from my investment portfolio as I needed it for another opportunity. So as a result of that, the amount of money I had invested in the stock market declined since the month of June or July, and hence the dividend income kind of went down. Nonetheless, I'm pleased to actually report that all in all, the amount of dividend in the whole year for 2020 is up 20% compared to the year 2019. All right, so as you can see here, here we are showing you the total amount of dividend we earned in 2019 as well as the total amount of dividend earned in 2020. So as I indicated, we had a 20% increase in our total dividend for 2020, which is exciting. What I wanted to really do is, and I've seen a lot of YouTubers do similar comparisons, and I think it's an exciting one just to put things into perspective. How much that $1,306 in dividend income mean, and what does that mean, and how much it can be used to purchase perhaps different things if you were to kind of quantify it and relate better to it. So you could see here, if I was to buy a London Fog, and London Fog is one of those fancy drinks I love. You can buy it from Starbucks, Tim Hortons, and different kind of coffee shops, but let's go with the price that we have for Starbucks. Starbucks London Fog costs you around $4.99 with tax. So let's round it up to $5. Now, if we were to buy the $5 London Fog from Starbucks with the amount of dividend that we earned, we were able to buy 261 cups. Not too bad at all. It's a decent kind of way to treat ourselves. Obviously, we're not going to do that. We, as you know, here on Momentum, we are all about delayed gratification, making sure that we have our dividend reinvested so that we can kind of yield higher benefits over the long term, and thanks to the power of compound interest. But just for the sake of comparison, I think this is an exciting way to look at it. Now, if you think about Netflix, and we do have Netflix subscription at our home, we don't have cable, but we do definitely have Netflix, and we think it's a good way to reasonably pay for a service. And we actually do like to watch different shows and movies once in a while, and when we have free time. So we pay about $14.99, or round it up to $15 Canadian per month for our standard kind of package with Netflix. If we were to pay for the cost using our 2020 dividend income, that would pay for 7 years of Netflix subscription, assuming of course the subscription fee for Netflix does not change over time. But based on what we have right now, that would just pay for 7 years of Netflix subscription. Not bad, eh? Now, if we look at the groceries, kind of the situation changes a little bit. Our groceries bill kind of higher. So let's say if we were to average it around $400 groceries bill per month, that dividend income would pay for 3 months of our groceries. Not the highest that we one would have hoped, but still not too bad. 3 months of groceries for free with your dividend income, I think it's still decent. And lastly, and I think probably something that I was probably caught up by surprise, and let me adjust the columns so that it actually shows the accurate cost. So you can see for an all-inclusive resort trip, we just estimated roughly about $1,300 Canadian, and this is reasonable. You could easily find 4 or perhaps 4.5 star resort, say in Cuba, Varadero, if you were to travel, even from Edmonton that we live in. You could easily pay for that and get an all-inclusive resort trip for that cost for one person. So even that, the dividend income for that 1 year for 2020 actually pays for one person's all-inclusive resort trip for the cost of $1,300, which is quite impressive if you think about it that way. And then now it starts to really see how valuable that your dividend income can be. All right, so as I promised, I'm going to take a close look at the top dividend-paying stocks in my portfolio and how much dividend they brought for this year for my investment portfolio. Let's take a closer look at here. There are some caveats that I would walk you through it. The top-paying dividend stock in my portfolio is AT&T. And this stock alone brought me $100 in total dividend in 2020. That's roughly about 8% of the amount of dividend I earned in 2020. Keep in mind, and that's one of the caveats I want to flag here is just because I've earned this dividend in this stock doesn't mean that I still own shares of AT&T. In fact, full disclosure, I've sold all my AT&T stocks last year, and in the end I wanted to kind of use the money and invest it in more of a growth stock, and that was a decision that I made. I'm still young, quote unquote, in my investment journey, so I rather spend a little bit more of my funds onto growth stocks while maintaining some of my dividend paying stocks. So that's a decision that I've made. So just wanted to put it out there for you if you're interested. But nonetheless, I think AT&T is a great dividend-paying stock and one that perhaps many investors would benefit from holding onto it in their dividend portfolio. And next, we have Boeing. And the second caveat that I want to flag here, as you are aware, Boeing has indeed cut its dividend. I still own my shares of Boeing, and in fact added to my shares because I wanted to take advantage of dollar cost average as the share price for Boeing went down. Nonetheless, Boeing is not paying a dividend, but at the time in 2020, in the beginning of the year, they were still paying some dividends, and I earned still $74 in dividend from Boeing, and that kind of represents 6% of my dividend income in 2020. Next, we have AbbVie, and it's a pharmaceutical giant company, and I still have shares of AbbVie, and I maintain my shares, and indeed I plan to add to my shares. Currently, in 2020, we earned $38, and that stood for roughly about 33% of our dividend earned. Following that, we have Skyworks Solutions, one of the biggest 5G players, and we earned $37. All of these numbers are in Canadian dollars, by the way. And the Skyworks Solutions dividend stood also for 3% of the dividend earned in 2020, followed by Verizon, which is in communication and as well as 5G player. We earned $30, and we have 2% of our dividend earned from this stock. And then last two stocks are Laurentian Bank, which is a Canadian bank here. It's a smaller bank. We earned $22, and we had 2% of our dividend earned from that stock. And lastly, we have Pfizer. Here we earned $16 in dividend income, and Pfizer brought us about 1% of our dividend income in 2020. As indicated before, the total dividend we earned in 2020 was $1,306.23. There you have it, folks, an overview of how much dividend income I had in the year 2020 compared to the year before, and what were my top dividend paying stocks. Do you have any of these stocks that I reviewed in your portfolio? What are some of your top paying dividend stocks in your investment portfolio? I would love to hear from you. Be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. If you found this video beneficial, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from the video as well. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Momentum channel. Here on Momentum, we post weekly videos about stock market investing, finances, and financial freedom. Thank you, and I hope to see you next time.